and welcome to the Freakacast, Episode 4.
But not the Episode 4 we're used to seeing.
Because we came before Episode 4.
Yes. We started with Episode 1 instead of Episode 4.
I don't know where to go with that, so...
I didn't really know where to go with it either.
We're off to a wonderful start, aren't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, we are back. I'm Andrew Felson.
And I'm Matthew Puetz.
And we had a very fun time recording Batman last time.
Yes, that was awesome.
And long.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, right into stupid o'clock.
Still, I was having fun.
It was good. We covered quite a bit of ground.
Yeah, I was actually surprised on how much ground we covered.
And we'll one day get back to Batman, but for now, we're going to leave him for a little while.
Yep.
So before we get into today's topic, I want to once again plug Songs to Wear Pants To for the awesome theme song you guys have heard.
Yay!
For the past couple episodes now. I also want to remind everybody that the podcast home is at afelson1.wordpress.com. That once again is afelson1.wordpress.com. You don't need 3 W's in front. And that's on the blog page. And of course, you can find us on iTunes by searching either for Andrew's Brain or the Freakacast. You should come up with one of those two.
Yeah.
I also want to point out for those who are looking for some of the music I've listened to, go to newgrounds.com and to the audio portal, and you will find royalty-free music. As long as you cite the author, you'll be good to go.
Always good.
It's always good. Which brings us to today's topic. One that Matt knows absolutely nothing about.
Yep.
Other than it's a game. Today's topic is a video game. One that I hold very near and dear to my heart, and it's not Super Mario, believe it or not.
I know, I was surprised.
But Mega Man.
Mega Man!
The Blue Bomber, as he's called. Or
Better than the Blue Baller.
Or Rockman, if you're from Japan.
Rockman.
Before I talk, Matt, what do you know about Mega Man?
He's a guy in a blue suit with a cannon for an arm. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
So that's what I have to work here with, folks. But thankfully, he's going to have a good number of questions for me. So that way it's not me monologuing.
Yeah.
And him occasionally going, uh-huh. Yeah. Huh.
Sure. Okay.
Whatever.
I might do that anyway, but not as much as we hope it will be.
To start off with, the original character of Mega Man was created in 1987.
Wow, that long ago?
Yeah. And I have the 2 guys who made him, but they're both Japanese names, so bear with me, folks. I'm going to try my best, but I make no guarantees on correct pronunciation.
But he does guarantee he will slaughter them horribly.
Yes. So, created by Akira, not Dad, Kitamura, sorry.
Okay.
And that's spelled Kitamura, for those who are going to yell at me later for my poor pronunciation. And designed by, this is the tough one, Keiji, Keiji, Inafune. Inafune?
In a few what?
In a few minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to smack you. Inafune. I'm not very good with that. And the original design from, unofficially, it was like, well, we're in Japan, we like anime. And what's popular? Astro Boy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the...
Which, interesting thing. The only way that I even know about Astro Boy
is from Freakazoid?
Is from Freakazoid.
I remember that
With Hero Boy.
I remember that very well. I'm glad you do.
So it was like, I remember they actually came out with that Astro Boy movie about a year or so ago, and I don't think anybody went to see it because it wasn't marketed at all. I just remember reading about it online.
It's also sort of a little late because...
Yeah.
I think maybe it would have been good for... I mean, it was popular in the day, but the problem is people haven't seen anything of Astro Boy in so long that
they kind of forgot about it.
I think the interest wasn't really there.
Yeah. And the little bit that I saw, it looked like it was done well. It was a CG animated movie, high-end voice actors, that sort of thing. But I think, like you said, it's been so long since the character was popular, nobody had an interest in it, If they had kind of built up to it, I think it would have worked better.
I think a longer promotion and maybe some clips of the old show or stuff that people were used to would have been helpful.
But no, they're just like, let's jump right into it. Let's not warn people about this at all.
Sort of like, it's not like it's a new thing because they've been going back and redoing some older stuff. Like they made Underdog into live action.
Yeah, and
weird.
but just from what I saw of the trailer, I had no interest in seeing it because it didn't do what the old show did.
As well as Alvin and the Chipmunks. So
That one was actually okay.
I haven't seen any of those, so I can't.
Alvin and the Chipmunks was okay.
So it's not. So the idea of going back to something that.
And now they've got Yogi Bear.
Yeah,
figure.
Yogi Bear's coming out, which I'm just like, really?
The trailer doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look like it's kept in the spirit of the old show, but still it's kind of like, oh, the really bad one is Smurfs. Even my mom, when she saw the trailer, she's like, really? Hollywood's really getting out of ideas.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, folks, I'm not a big Hanna-Barbera fan, so I'm not really, I mean, of all the ones they make, Yogi Bear's at least, I think, doable and okay, but some of the other ones, like, I really hope they don't do. Like, I don't want to
I don't want to see a 2-hour live-action Laugh Olympics.
Yeah, I don't think I could handle anything of a live-action Snagglepuss.
Oh, yeah.
I could barely handle him animated.
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle it full-length, live-action, whatever.
Yeah.
So let's not do that one, shall we?
But anyway, going back to topic.
So back to topic. Just happy you remember Hero Boy.
Like I said, that was the only way I knew of Astro Boy.
And of course, the only thing I remember from that episode is two giant sumos going, Hero Boy! Hero Boy!
I will succeed! I will succeed!
There have been over 50 games.
Wow.
With the title Mega Man on it.
I think I know about 5. I'm just saying I knew of the title.
Yeah, well...
Mega Man 1, Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5. That was it.
And he's one of the more recognizable video game characters, probably right behind Mario and Sonic.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, even I've heard of the character, and I don't really play video games that much anyway.
Right, so, and he's heard of Mario, he's heard of Sonic, and he's heard of various other ones that have been mainstream.
Zelda.
And Zelda, Link, maybe Samus.
Not heard the name Samus until I met you.
Well, there you go. So there's his limitation, but he's at least heard of Mega Man.
Yeah. Like I said, I at least knew the basic concept of it's a guy in a blue suit and he's got a cannon for an arm.
And he's also been in several other forms of media, from cartoons and...
cartoon?
He was actually in 3 of them.
Wow.
He starred in 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, first and foremost, because you say it's a guy in a blue suit. Well, you're almost right.
Okay.
He's not actually a human.
Okay.
He's a robot.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Did not know that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to dive into the story first.
Okay.
The main overall story for the classic series. There's going to be different ones.
Right.
But we're going to go for the classic Mega Man series, the original one that came out in 1987 and beyond.
Okay.
He was created by Dr. Light, or Wright, depending on what area in the world you're from. But we'll go for America.
But he wasn't created by Dr. Lightbright.
No, unfortunately. Okay. Although that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been pretty cool.
And very odd.
But fitting of the times.
So he was created by Dr. Light, originally as a laboratory assistant.
Okay.
And his name was Rock. And then he created a housekeeping robot named Roll. I hope you are sensing this pattern. Because this becomes important later.
Was this created by MTV?
No.
Okay.
Just people who thought it was clever. It's supposed to be a little corny.
Okay. I'm thinking, where's Aerosmith going to play into this?
They do the score. No, they don't.
Aww.
But they could have. Because Mega Man
would have been awesome.
Because the trend for pretty much all Mega Man games is it has really good music to it.
Yeah.
And all is good. And Dr. Light is in this universe, the father of robotics.
Okay.
So he's responsible for creating humanoid robots as well as various other things to help people around.
Yeah.
And the year varies from 200X to 20XX. That's how it's billed. I don't get it either. But it's supposed to be in the future.
This just kind of bothers me. They're combining normal numbers with Roman numerals.
I know.
I don't like it when people do that. It messes you up. I don't know how to read that.
Don't worry. Nobody does.
Okay, good.
In fact, it's pretty much up for parody these days anyway. So I'm confused by it too, and I've been playing these games.
You just start throwing symbols like exclamation point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sign.
It doesn't get any easier as it goes along. There's a rival for Dr. Light.
Pi.
Yes, the year of pi. Where everything has to be very numerical and spherical, but it never ends.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
so
anyway.
Dr. Light has a rival named Dr. Wily,
Why would his rival not be Dr. Dark?
because then I guess it would be too corny.
Is that that at least? Well, they've already got the rock and roll thing, so why would they not go with corniness? I mean, at least light versus dark makes sense.
Well, because there's still a play on the name. He's Wily.
Oh, okay, like Wile E. Coyote. All right.
Yes. And he's his goal is, of course, to take over the world.
Wow, big surprise there.
Yep, mad scientist tries to take over the world.
Where have I seen that before? Oh yeah,
Everywhere.
Every other basic idea.
But it's a good basis for a game. In the first game, the one that kicks it off, Mega Man, the 1987 game, the kinks are starting to get ironed out, because there are some things that appeared in this game that didn't appear in any other games.
Okay, such as?
Such as, there's a point system, where you actually have score.
Okay.
That was the only one. Never did it again.
Why not?
Because unlike Mario, for Mario, they still have high score.
Right.
They still have a point system, and
Right.
for them it works. It's just part of their nostalgia factor, part of their aesthetic. And plus,
Yeah, you have coins to collect.
you have coins. The coins are also for getting one-ups, but also the points. Like if you hit so many turtles or gooms in a row, you get a one-up.
Right.
In Mega Man, it didn't really have any purpose other than how well you did.
Okay.
And the difference between Mega Man and Mario is that while both are goal-oriented in terms of get to the end, save the world, or beat the bad guy,
Right.
Mega Man had a much more clearer goal to it.
Okay.
Because with Mario, like Mario 1 and 2 and 3 later on,
Right.
you were kind of doing the same thing, like going through various stages and then fighting Bowser over and over again, or later on
I got you.
some little mini-bosses.
Right.
With Mega Man, it was a little different, because while, yes, you were still going through levels, platforming, and beating up bad guys, each boss fight was different.
Okay.
And it had a very distinct way to do it.
Yeah.
And this is the only game to feature only 6. Every other one beyond this had 8 robots for you to fight.
I guess they felt 6 was not enough.
I guess. Maybe it was to help even it out
Could be.
a little bit. Although, interesting enough, they did remake Mega Man 1 on the PSP, and they ended up adding in 2 new robots,
To kind of be consistent with the other games. Okay.
which I've yet to play because I don't own a PSP.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'd like it.
Yeah. There's no question there.
What's also interesting is these first few robots, I'm not going to name them all because there's too many to name, but these first few robots were built by Dr. Light instead of Dr. Wily,
Okay.
because beyond them, he builds them. And these were all built for industrial purposes. Like you had Cut Man,
Right.
and he had a pair of scissors on his head, and he was for the logging
Because
industry.
he couldn't have scissors on his hands because that'd be copyright.
Right. And plus, they weren't like little scissors. They were more like hedge clipper kind of things.
Okay.
But yeah, and he would throw them at you. There was also
Well, having hedge clippers thrown at you is kind of dangerous. I'd be a little scared too.
there was also Guts Man.
What did he do? Spill his guts?
No, he just was really strong.
No.
I don't get the name either. There's
Okay.
Fireman, Iceman,
Always
Elect-Man, short for Electric Man.
Yeah.
Also Bomb Man. And he was funny because he had a mohawk and he looked like Mr. T.
He was da bomb.
Exactly. It was fun. And what's fun about these games for me is the fact that it's always a challenge.
Yeah.
And especially the first 2 games, by the way, are known for being extremely hard.
Well,
They don't pull punches.
Yeah. Well, you say they're extremely hard, but do you feel like it's an achievable goal in each game?
They're beatable.
Okay.
Although, to be honest, they both have their moments where you want to throw the controller at the TV screen and walk away screaming and cursing.
That probably would have been where I stopped playing.
Maybe.
Okay, enough of that.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see you play a Mega Man game, because I don't know how it would be for your ADD, because each level is different.
Yeah. Well, in recent years, as I've played games with you, it hasn't been as bad as it was when I was a kid. Yeah, that's part of the reason I'm not a big gamer, is because after about a half an hour, it's like, even if I'm really into the game, it's like, okay, I'm done. I would be tired of it.
I guess that's why, even if the story is not exactly airtight or original, the story does help you, like, give you a sense of, I want to beat the game. I want to stop. I want to save the world.
Yeah.
I don't want Wily to win.
So, yeah, and I was I could do this another day.
Yes, well, unfortunately,
So-
for the first one, you couldn't because there was no password system.
Yeah, there was no save and continue where you left off.
Right, and the other ones
Which is why I never got through Mario Brothers.
It's true. I mean, granted, if you died at level 5-1, you could hold A and push start at the title screen so you can go back to where you left off. But if you turned it off, you could never do that. There was no code.
Yep.
But they do actually have passwords for Mega Man later on.
Okay.
So they do get the idea of, you may have some trouble with these spots.
So it definitely sounds like they made good improvements going from 1 to 2.
They do, and really, 2 is considered one of the best.
Well, that makes sense.
Granted, there was progression for the series and the character and how it played on as it developed.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Mega Man is owned by Capcom. I should point this out.
Okay.
Just because, if I don't mention Capcom at all, they may be like, he's talking about our character, but he didn't mention us.
All right. Let's...
What do you want to hear?
Who is Capcom?
Capcom is a gaming company.
And that's all they do is make games?
They make games. They've never made consoles. Unlike Sega, who used to make consoles, but now only make games.
Yeah.
Also like Atari, who used to make consoles,
But now only make games.
Because
I'm seeing a
Nintendo...
pattern here.
Because Nintendo was kind of like, yeah, I'm the powerhouse. And then that was kind of it for a while, because they beat Sega and Atari.
Yeah.
But then Sony came out, and they're like, well, we're going to be a powerhouse. And Nintendo's like, no, you don't. But, oh, wait, you're still doing good. We should stop. Oh, no, now here comes Microsoft.
Yeah.
Ah!
So it's the triumvirate of game systems.
But in all honesty, Capcom and Nintendo have always been good buds.
Yeah.
Capcom has usually gone with Nintendo over most gaming consoles up until very recently. A lot of people associate Mega Man with Nintendo very closely.
Yeah.
Because he had his full run of games, and I should point out that in the classic series there were 11 games total of the platforming style, and 10 of them were numbered. There's one that does not have a number.
You say platforming style. What does that mean?
Well, it means side-scrolling action.
Okay.
So
kind of like Mario Brothers.
It's like Mario.
Side-scrolling, and it's two-dimensional.
Yes.
And you have to go up and down levels.
Yes.
Or not, I say levels, but I mean like...
Well, you're correct in saying levels.
Okay.
Because there are different platforms that you have to climb up to jump and scale. Plus, the stage progresses.
Right.
So there are different levels to it, and some climb up, some side scroll.
Right. Okay.
So it's a platforming game. There have been other versions of Mega Man. Like there has been a racing game.
Oh.
There's been an RPG. There's even been a soccer game.
Why?
Why not?
I mean, I don't know. I'd be kind of like saying, okay, let's do Mortal Kombat, but instead of fighting, you're going to play soccer.
Now that you've said it, I wouldn't be surprised to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero playing badminton together.
That would be hilarious.
And now for my special move, Ice Ball, ching! Scorpion's like, oh no, you don't, come back here, reserve! I think then people will be like, yeah, Mortal Kombat's really jumped the shark on this one. What happened to the blood and gore? Let's see, when the fatality is when they spike the ball into their head. Ka-chung! Except it's a little rubber ball and it doesn't really do much.
It just bounces off.
Just bounces off.
And they're like, oh, that didn't really hurt, so I don't feel angry enough to fight you.
I'll throw my racket in disgust and then go out and have a latte.
Yeah, I think if Sub-Zero said that, people are like, alright. Seriously? I want my money back.
All that ninja training for badminton? Arrgh!
Now, if it was like Matrix-style badminton, then I could probably see that actually being fun.
Well, they've had Mario Tennis, so it's so strange that we were like, it's okay for Mario.
But Mario's a kind of a goofier character compared to Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Well, I know, I'm not defending the goofy idea of it'd be weird and strange and kind of dumb to have Mortal Kombat.
No, I know what you're saying.
Sports.
You're saying that, the fact that you've seen something of that nature before, it would not surprise you to see them take that idea further.
In this case, for Mega Man Soccer.
Okay.
Probably because, again, Mega Man has always been developed in Japan.
Yeah.
So in other countries, as they call it football, here we call it soccer, has always been a very popular sport. So it's not that surprising that they would want to combine something that they like.
True. Yeah, come up before. If you like one thing and you like something else, the idea of them together you should like that.
Doesn't always work.
Not always true, but the theory of putting two things you like together and you like the outcome makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go over the classic games, not so much in terms of story, because the basic plot kind of continues in terms of
Save the world.
Save the world from Dr. Wily. He's the constant protagonist.
Okay.
Or antagonist, excuse me. Because protagonist would be Pro.
Yes.
Which would be Mega Man.
Yes.
And he's pretty much the only playable character up until a point.
Okay.
You never play as anybody else up until the later games.
Okay.
In Mega Man 2, you have 8 robots to defeat instead of 6.
Okay.
E-tanks are introduced, which are
E-tanks?
energy tanks,
Cool.
which are your energy reserves, so in case you're damaged.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking tanks like tank.
Right.
I'm like, they shoot energy. Awesome.
The level of gameplay is more defined. They get rid of the point system and focus more on the fact that, okay, the real challenge is getting to the end and beating the boss.
Right.
And one thing I should also mention is the way this is usually done.
Okay.
And they've described it a rock, paper, scissor type of battle.
Okay. As opposed to rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock?
Yes.
Okay.
Although maybe, considering all the weapons Mega Man has had.
Okay. At some point I want to play that game.
For example,
I don't know the rules of it.
For example, and I'll remember Mega Man 2 enemies just so we can have some different ones mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have Bubble Man. That's his name. Underwater robot, all right?
Okay.
So you have...
He's in a bubble. He doesn't shoot bubbles at you.
He does shoot bubbles. He looks kind of like a scuba diver.
Scuba Steve.
And the thing is, feel free to laugh, because some of them are very silly.
Okay.
So, and that's part of the charm, really.
Yeah.
Is seeing that some are actually more ridiculous than they are hard.
Yeah.
But you have Bubble Man.
Okay.
And his weapon is the lead bubble.
Okay.
And your main weapon of attack is called the plasma. It's labeled plasma. You have the plasma power. That's your regular cannon, your armed cannon.
Yeah.
And because you have 8 bosses to go through, you have to try to figure out, who do I go to first? Who's my regular attack going to work on best? If you got to go to the Bubble Man, yeah, you could beat him with it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So basically, each one of them has a different fighting ability.
Yes.
And you have to go to a certain one first to get that ability?
Yes.
Okay, so then you use that ability to go fight another boss.
Yes.
So it's very well balanced.
It is.
I like that,
actually. And the nice thing is, there's always the challenge of, can you beat all the bosses without using the special powers?
Yeah.
Because each boss has a pattern.
Right.
And you can, the good players, the more experienced ones, can figure it all out and be able to dodge all the attacks while still shooting. Because some of the bosses, your regular attack does minimal damage, like 1 bar of health.
Right.
Some of the more easier ones will do more. The first boss you would go to in Mega Man 2 would be Metal Man. And you get the saw blades.
Metal Man!
Yes, and he throws pretty much what looks like buzzsaws at you.
Nice! See, that's pretty cool.
And he would be the first one you go to. Of course, the nice thing about that weapon is it works on almost everybody.
Yeah! They go to him, kill him, buzzsaw attack!
And also the nice thing is you can throw it in multiple directions.
Cool.
Which is different for some of the weapons, because some of them just kind of do their own thing. Like the lead bubble just kind of crawls around the ground.
Yeah.
But you use the lead bubble to beat Heat Man, because he's fire. And after you go through, because there's definitely an element of...
It's a shame you can't combine attacks and get Fireman and Metal Man and have flaming buzzsaws you can throw at people.
Oddly, they've never done that.
That'd be cool.
It would be pretty kind of cool. Probably very costly on your weapon energy, though.
Still, I mean, it's one of those things like you'd have to, like if you had some of the energy tanks, you could store that up. But it would do, the damage of each one combined.
That'd be pretty cool.
So
that'd be interesting. They've never done that. And all your weapons run on their own separate energy. So
okay.
If you use a lot of the saw blades...
Well, that makes sense. Kind of like if you think of it like ammo. It's like if you have different types of guns, each have their own ammo. You use up the ammo from one, you still got all these other guns left over.
Yes.
So, makes sense.
But your regular attack never runs out. So you're always good on that one.
Unlimited arm cannon ammo is always a good thing.
Yeah, that would make the game a lot harder when you run out of your mode of attack.
Yeah.
Because unlike some other people, Man can't hit anybody with his head or his feet, because he'll take damage.
Yeah.
Not unless he has a special weapon equipped. So, moving on. Mega Man 3.
Okay.
One of my personal favorites, because that was actually the first Mega Man game I ever owned, and I think the 4th game I ever beat.
Okay. So you just borrowed the other 2 from friends? Or?
Yeah, or I may have rented them.
Right.
May even be the first one I played.
It's been so long since I've run into anything, I kind of forgot about that.
I know, it is kind of a foreign notion.
It is.
Let's go rent it.
Like, rent? Why would I rent something when I can just go to Walmart and buy it for cheaper?
And if I don't like it, I'll just bring it back.
Yeah. It's amazing how that's changed.
It is. Interesting note, I think the first game I beat was DuckTales. And the second game I beat was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Nice!
I forget what the third game was.
It doesn't matter. You've mentioned two of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid.
Mega Man actually might be the third, now that I think about it.
Okay.
Ironic, Mega Man 3 is the third game I beat.
Makes sense.
But anyway, they introduce 3 new elements to this game.
Okay.
Most of these
So they
elements
kept
continue.
the elements of no score and the energy tanks.
And 8 bosses.
And 8 bosses, okay.
So in this one, they introduced the method of sliding.
Okay, where you can slide on the ground?
Yes.
Okay.
So that way they can get more creative with their level design.
Yeah.
And that would continue on for pretty much most of the games. I think they dropped it later on for some of the newer ones. And they introduced a new support unit,
Okay.
a robotic dog named Rush. And what he would
I'm
do...
noticing a pattern here.
I hope so.
And the only reason I know of this is because of fanboys.
I would hope so. And we're going to...
Because I didn't even hear of Rush until fanboys came out. Which just shows you how much of a sheltered childhood I had.
Wow, even I heard of Rush. Granted, it was first a mechanical dog, but give me a break, I was little. And the way Rush worked was he had, in this game, 3 modes. One would be a springboard to help you jump to higher heights.
Okay.
The second would be a submarine. The third would be a jet.
Cool.
So you can help navigate you through the levels.
It's always good.
And then, more importantly, they added a brand new character.
Okay.
And they called him Proto-Man in America.
Okay. What do they call him in Japan?
Blues.
Why didn't they keep that name?
I guess I don't know why certain things get changed.
I mean, there's no reason to...
Maybe because he's not blue, because he's red. He's red and gray.
Okay.
And he's introduced...
I guess I could see why they change it, not because of censoring or anything, but because they'd be afraid no one would... It would just not make sense and it would confuse people.
I don't know, because even in the Americanized storyline, because they keep all the cutscenes, like you can see the story as before the game plays.
Okay.
They still refer to Mega Man as Rock.
Okay.
His real name was always Rock.
Yeah, that's true.
His sister is Roll. That's never got changed.
Right.
And they introduced Proto-Man as Mega Man's older brother.
Okay.
So Proto-Man is sort of because he was the prototype.
That makes sense.
His storyline is the fact that when he was made, he decided he would leave on his own,
Okay.
which was not quite what they had thought he would do.
Wait, come back here! Oh, crap, we lost him. But we'll build another one.
And this also draws from another anime reference.
Okay.
So let me hit you with this.
Okay.
During the gameplay,
Uh-huh.
they don't tell you who he is.
Okay.
He's just this mysterious robot, who comes in and he's either trying to train you or he's helping you. But he's very mysterious and does not reveal his identity. But us, the viewers, and then later Mega Man finds out that he is his brother. What does this kind of sound like?
Go, Speed Racer, go!
Very good. That's pretty much exactly where they drew it from.
It's amazing. I don't think I barely watched any of that show, but I knew about Racer X.
That's because anytime you saw him, you had that where the thing freezes and they tell you who Racer X is every single episode that he's in. Racer X was this mysterious, he's Speed's brother, but he crashed the Mach 5 and he's now gone, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where they drew that from.
It's starting to sound like Mega Man is nothing more than a culmination of all these classic anime things put together.
It is, but he ends up being his own thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm... Well, usually when you do a culmination of things, you do end up with a product that is not necessarily better than the other ones, but certainly it feels newer and fresher.
And he certainly lasted longer than Speed Racer.
Yeah.
Mega Man 4. They introduce Beat, another support unit. He's a bird.
Beat the bird.
Beat the bird.
Okay. Bang!
They've also released Mega Man on Game Boy He had some Game Boy releases, and they kind of followed the same thing. And I don't know which one it was introduced, but they also introduced a cat named Tango. So they're big on the musical things.
Yeah, I never thought I'd heard you say the phrase "a cat named Tango."
If I had a cat,
that sounds like the title of a movie.
A cat named Tango, a bird named Beat. This is their story.
Anyway, what were you
So
saying?
in Mega Man 4, did they introduce Beat in Mega Man 4? I think he actually said in 5, now that I think about it. In Mega Man 4, they introduced what they call the Mega Buster, which is pretty much still your basic weapon, but now you can charge it up.
Oh, cool.
So now in...
You charge it for a more powerful hit.
Yes. So it'd be a bigger blast, and instead of doing, let's say, 1 point of damage, it would do 3.
Nice.
And plus, if it's weaker enemies, it'll go straight through and clear out a row.
Yeah. That's always good.
Always good. And I'm going to try to name at least one robot from each game, just to...
Okay. Well, yeah.
In that one, you had Pharaoh Man, Toad Man, and Ring Man.
Ring Man?
Yeah.
What does he use?
Rings.
He literally throws rings at you?
Yes.
Wow. They were starting to run out of ideas, I think.
That's always theme weapons.
That's true. And it is hard to come up with themes for things, I guess.
Anyway, Mega Man 5, not too much has changed. They did...
I'm curious, are the graphics being upgraded at all throughout the games?
A little bit. I'm glad you mentioned that.
My only frame of reference for any of these games is the one I saw you playing earlier.
Right.
And I know that was like the first one, wasn't it?
Well, the one you saw me playing a few minutes ago is actually Mega Man 3.
Okay. Because I'm sitting here thinking, based upon what you're telling me, it's like this would be really cool to see in a three-dimensional, up-to-date graphics.
They kind of do, but not in this particular
So
series.
I'm just curious if they've developed, upgraded the graphics at all.
Well, Mega Man 1 through 6 was all on the NES,
Okay.
which was all 8-bit graphics.
Okay.
So they can only do so much with that. Bits is pretty much how much space they can fit into the cartridge and screen.
Yeah. And 8 bits is like nothing.
It's nothing, but you can do quite a bit with it. And it's a eye-pleasing style.
Right.
Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, and really they go up to 6 on the NES. Mm-hmm. All of them definitely good, but beginning with Mega Man 4 and on, you can kind of tell that it was beginning to be very much the same. Still definitely fun.
Right.
But very few new innovations.
So it really felt like the same thing over again.
As
opposed to the same thing, you're continuing what you like about the game, but you're adding new things in. It wasn't as much of that.
Kinda. They definitely added new story elements to it.
Okay.
Because there is always an ongoing story where there's plot twists. Like in Mega Man 4, at first you don't think it's Dr. Wily. There's actually another person you're up against, and his name is Dr. Cossack, I believe. And it has a very Russian feel to it. And every time you beat all the 8 bosses, by the way, or the 6, you then have to go to Wily's castle and make your way through it. And that's just a series of stages, and those are usually a lot harder to go through. Right. All the platforming is harder, the obstacles are harder. And what's also different is between each stage when you're in the normal game, your weapon energy will automatically refill. Right. When you're in Wily's castle, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So you have to conserve and try to figure out what you're doing with it.
Right.
So at first you go to Dr. Cossack's castle, which is kind of in a Russian design. But then you come to find out that he's only attacking Mega Man and the world in large because Dr. Wily kidnapped his daughter and was forcing him to do so. Yeah. And Proto Man ends up coming to the rescue and saving the daughter while Mega Man was fighting the robots. Yeah. In the 5th one, you think Proto Man has gone bad. Or you think Proto Man is now the bad guy and he's got his own army. But he ends up being framed. Dr. Wily framed him.
What size?
Well,
8 by 10?
Sure. They aren't very big. Mega Man has never been portrayed as tall. Let's put it that way.
So he would fit very easily on an 8 by 10 frame.
I never thought of him as frameable, but sure.
Well, you said he was framed.
That was Proto Man.
No. Either way.
Either way. Yeah, the progression kind of limits itself to the level design, and music is always fun to hear, and the character design.
And it's not hard to get good music even in an 8-bit system.
No, and they've always praised the game series for having really good music.
Yeah.
Then you get to Mega Man 7.
Okay.
The first one, and kind of the only one, really, to make it into the 16-bit.
Okay.
So
that was the Super NES,
That's
right?
the Super NES,
Okay.
Super Nintendo. And the graphics are all up to date. Music is up to date. Gameplay is also kind of there.
Okay.
But a lot of people, for some reason, I don't know, because this is the one I always loved, were like, this is more of the same. Because it was, with the exception of one thing, it was kind of the same. Nothing else had been updated.
Right.
They added a new character, though,
Okay.
which always makes this game stand out and has been a constant character throughout. They added a rival for Mega Man.
Oh, okay.
A Dr. Wily-made rival.
Okay.
And before I tell you his name,
Okay.
given all the musical names thus far, if I was to say his name is spelled B-A-S-S, how do you think his name would be said?
Bass.
You're
Bass.
wrong. There you go.
Bass.
It's bass.
Yeah.
But because it's spelled like the fish, people get that confused. So much so that they made a very critical error.
I saw
later on.
I was thinking about the word, not the fact. It's like, it's bass, like an upright bass. Or bass guitar. So that makes sense.
Yes, bass guitar. And he has a
All your
robotic...
bass belong to us.
Yes. And he has a canine companion as well, and his name is Treble. As in,
Bass and treble.
Bass and treble.
The treble clef.
Which again is like...
Which is actually what my lamp is. It's a treble clef. I don't know if you've ever noticed that or not.
No. But his pretty much goal is to destroy Mega Man, prove he's superior.
I'm liking the fact that this is all deriving itself from basic motivations and common themes.
Mm-hmm. Also, I should point out, because I kind of skipped over it, in Mega Man 6, unlike other games, Mega Man actually captures Dr. Wily and puts him in jail.
Oh, cool.
Because all the other ones he escapes.
So if that's the case, how did they make another one?
Because he broke out.
Out.
A guy like Wily, he always kind of knew that I might get captured one day, and if so, I'm going to have a backup plan.
The real question is, how come Mega Man doesn't kill Dr. Wily?
Good point. I'm glad you brought this up. They follow the rule of robotics, which is robots do not harm people.
Okay.
They do not kill people. And there's
what defines a robot? Do they have to be completely mechanical, or just the majority of the body is mechanical?
I think for a robot, in this case, would be completely mechanical.
Okay.
So I think if you're
So
having...
like he couldn't be like Vader, where he's like, a lot of mechanical attachments and that sort of thing to keep him alive. You wouldn't count that as a robot. He would still count that as a human.
Yeah, because you start off as a human.
Okay.
You just be a human with enhancements.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to.
So robot is something that's, in this case, he's an android, humanoid,
Right.
made to look like a person. They follow the rule of robotics, where they don't try to kill people. Interestingly enough, though, at the end of Mega Man 7, he does almost try. He's like, I should kill you. I should ignore the rule. I'm more than a robot, but he doesn't.
Does Mega Man ever become human?
No. At least not in the game series continuity.
Okay.
Now, he did appear, and I'm going to get back to this in a minute, in a cartoon called...
Mega Man and Friends?
No.
Good.
I was trying to... There it is. I had the name, I just want to get the date right. Captain N, the Game Master. This is a Saturday morning cartoon. Captain N, Captain Nintendo,
Okay.
the Game Master, in 1989. And Mega Man was one of the side characters.
Okay.
And it featured a cast of other Nintendo characters, most of which you probably wouldn't know.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, I never saw that show.
Because they had Simon Belmont. He's from Castlevania series. Exactly. They had Kid Icarus, also known as Pit, from the Kid Icarus game. They had Mother Brain from Metroid. Was the villain. The only interesting thing about that is they eventually had a storyline where they made Mega Man human. But I didn't really watch the show much.
Yeah, so you kind of don't know how it was done and all that sort of stuff.
The only thing I do remember is two of the characters had a kind of a strange speech impediment / pattern.
Okay.
For example, Kid Icarus, whose actual name is Pit, he's kind of looked like a fairy in terms of he's got the wings and he's wearing a toga that's like from Greek mythology.
Okay. Yeah.
Except he adds Iticus to things.
Oh, that would get annoying.
It did.
Was it to everything?
Almost. So it makes you kind of be like, oh, shut up. And Mega Man had a similar problem, except it was at the beginning, and he would add the word Mega.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is, what I always remember is, like, he's the first character you see in the opening of the cartoon, and he's zipping by.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mega High! As he goes by. And I'm like, yep.
Well,
I'm getting Mega High, all right.
Well, I mean, this is 89. It was pegged as a Saturday morning cartoon. Its target audience was clearly little kids.
And very loosely based on the Nintendo characters.
Very loosely based, but also, they were just trying to make it goofy and fun. They didn't care if it actually made sense or was annoying people, I guess.
Yeah. That's a common theme for late 80s, early 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a sidekick, make it annoying. To the point where you had to punch the TV.
The thing is, I don't think they said make it annoying, but I think the end result was it was annoying, regardless of how they attempted it.
Pretty much. Also, they had, in 1994, Mega Man had his very own TV show cartoon. Also a Saturday morning cartoon.
Okay.
Based more closely on the games.
Okay.
The only change they made was they made Proto Man the rival because they made it before Mega Man 7 came out.
Okay.
So there was no base.
Right.
So they had Proto Man as the main rival and siding with Dr. Wily. That way you had two robots, very similar in power and capability, going at it.
Okay. Which certainly makes for entertaining TV.
And it had about 2 seasons.
No, that's pretty good.
And it was actually at one point a #1 rated show.
That I never saw.
And the only reason it didn't survive, because here's the weird thing, unlike Freakazoid where it bounced around but had good reviews, they had a very consistent time slot for Mega Man because it was popular, and it did pretty well. And people generally liked that animation voice acting was actually good.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. The company that made it...
Went out of business?
If they haven't yet, they were on the verge. They pretty much started running out of funding, so they had to cut it.
Oh, that sucks.
That's the only reason they didn't make more. So it's like,
Shame.
so it's not time constraints, it's not reviews, not ratings, it's money that didn't do it. And they even had made action figures for this.
I can't believe I don't remember any of this.
I had 2 of them. That's all I had. And later on, I don't have
This was what year did the show come out?
94. And it went...
That's why. I was too wrapped up in Batman.
94, 95.
I was way too... No, that was middle school. I was way too wrapped up in Batman and other things to be cared about Mega Man.
Wasn't really your thing, though.
No, that wasn't my thing.
And so then they came out with Mega Man 8. This is the first game that didn't appear on Nintendo. It went to PlayStation.
Okay.
And they had all new graphics. And here's also where things kind of go downhill for a while.
Okay.
Because they added voice acting. And let me tell you something, man.
Now, voice acting is okay, so let's not harp on voice acting in general.
No, and they also, to show off the capabilities of the PlayStation, added in-between animated cutscenes to help progress the story.
Right. And you'd mentioned they had cutscenes on previous games.
Right. But they were like in the bit style of the Nintendo, and usually text-based.
Yeah.
This was not.
Okay.
Now, here's the difference. Now, I'm sure in the actual Japanese version, it was probably fine, and the animation itself is good.
Yeah.
But when they dubbed it, my God.
Well, if you go into expecting bad Japanese dubbing, you know what to get.
Because let me tell you something. It's not like they couldn't get the words right, because they had people who were speaking perfectly fine English.
Right.
And what they said made sense. It's just, people, the man's name is Mega Man. Why is it he sounds like an 8-year-old girl?
Wow!
Yes, Mega Man had such a high-pitched girly voice.
Holy wow.
That you're like, this is not Mega Man.
Mega Man should sound like Mega Man.
Now, granted, he's short, and he kind of looks like a kid, but don't give him an 8-year-old girl voice.
But he's not a kid. He's a robot.
Yes.
If anything, he should sound like a robot.
And it's like, why does he sound like his sister?
Because he's from Alabama, I guess. I don't know.
And to make matters worse...
Oh, it gets worse?
It does.
Oh.
I don't know who that was. I should look it up. But, like, the person who voiced Dr. Light had an Elmer Fudd thing going.
Be very quiet, Mega Man. We're looking for terrorists.
Where there was literally a line where when we find that meteor, except it sounds like media, we'll find Dr. Wowie.
Oh.
And you're like, I can't take him seriously. I'm sorry. I know you're a genius and you've made robots and all, but, like... Couldn't you afford speech therapy?
Apparently not, because he couldn't even afford a decent voice for his own Mega Man.
I know, it's sort of like, look, and not to harp on people with speech impediments, but it's like, come on, guys.
But when there's a certain expectation, when the character has been designed a certain way, pegged a certain way, you expect a certain voice from that character. Not that.
And the problem is like, even during some of the gameplay, you heard Mega Man's voice.
Yeah.
The girly voice.
Oh.
So it's like...
So it took you out of the game.
So it's like, ha ha, power shot! Ha ha! And you're like, oh, shut
You're
up.
like, ha ha, power shot.
And it's like, it's a fun game, but it's like, come on, guys.
Enough's enough already.
Enough's enough. Interestingly enough, we're getting to the point where there's going to be a drop-off of Mega Man games, where that was going to be...
If we're talking about 95, what year did this game come out?
Past that, because that was...
Okay. You're talking that time period.
I think...
There are so many other games that came out that were such more popular. For instance, GoldenEye.
Mega Man 7, Mega Man 8, I have the date right here.
Okay.
And I've had the foresight for this one. Came out in 97.
Okay. So, yeah, so certainly GoldenEye was out, and as we discussed earlier, that was a very popular game, especially with guys sitting around the couch playing this game. So I think the interest in Mega Man games had probably dropped off just because of the style of gameplay.
Well, maybe.
Not to say that it dropped off so much that people ignored it, but there were, at the time, Mega Man was still going strong, but there were so many different types of gameplays coming out. And it was a revolution to some degree with video games at the time.
Kinda. I mean, there's always going to be a place for platform games.
Oh, yeah,
People will always love it.
Definitely.
But I think what really hurt the classic series of Mega Man was, believe it or not, another Mega Man.
Huh?
They came out with a different series called Mega Man X.
Okay.
Which is basically a Mega Man of the future.
Wasn't he already of the future?
He was, but this is even further on in the future. Where
Okay.
the Mega Man X takes place in 21XX.
Okay.
And they released that like a year before Mega Man 7, and it had a lot of innovations to it, which made the other two games come out pale in comparison.
Yeah, you don't put out your best stuff first. You put out your not as good stuff first.
And we're definitely going to talk
to it.
about X, because that's a definite fun thing, but I'm going to finish up the classic series.
And we're not going to talk about Y
No,
or
'cause
Z.
we could get to Z, but I don't want to,
Okay.
because I've never played that game. Believe it or not, you're actually right. There is
Oh, wow. I was just making a joke.
There's called Mega Man 0 and Mega Man ZX,
Oh, wow.
two of which I've never played.
Okay.
So
Anyway. But no
They
Mega
used-
Man Q.
I forget exactly what year it was, but they made a game that only came out in Japan
Right.
called Mega Man and Bass.
Okay.
This is the one that didn't get a number
Okay.
and falls somewhere between games.
Okay.
And this is the first time you can play as
Bass.
either Mega Man or Bass.
Okay.
You can actually have a choice between characters.
Yeah.
Now, they only released it in Japan on their pretty much the equivalent of Super Nintendo, which is the Super Famicom.
Okay.
And they never brought it here on that system. They later brought it over on the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Many, many years later after its release. However, I actually played it
Okay. Cool.
on here in America not too long after it was released.
Cool.
Because here's how. Little known fact. You may or may not know this, but for the NES, they had their licensed games, but then they had people who were making unlicensed games. They were using the technology to just make a cartridge and you can just plug it into the game, into the Nintendo. Which
I did not know that.
you briefly walked in while I was watching The Angry Video Game Nerd,
Yeah.
and he was doing a review on like the Bible games.
Oh, okay.
And those are all games made by companies that did not get permission.
Oh, okay.
And so what Nintendo decided to do was they were going to lock out all those people who were trying to make unlicensed games.
Yeah.
So they put in a chip, called it the lockout chip,
Right.
to prevent this. There was only one unlicensed game made it through,
Okay.
but it bypassed the chip because it did some weird stuff with plugging in other cartridges in.
Okay.
But with this chip, you can also not play foreign imports. So if you had a Famicom game,
Mm-hmm.
even though it looked like pretty much the same kind of cartridge, you couldn't
Yeah.
plug it into the Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
However, if you remove the chip,
This became possible.
you could actually play the game. And a friend of mine actually had the Super Famicom game, but didn't have a Famicom.
Ah.
I don't know how he got the game, but
We
he
don't
did.
want to know how we got the game.
But he did. And he figured out how to remove the chip. And he removed the chip both on his Super Nintendo and my Super Nintendo. So I was able to play Mega Man and Bass. One problem, though. It was all in Japanese. So certain things I couldn't understand.
And unfortunately, you didn't have the internet at the time to translate what you were reading.
I didn't have the internet to translate it. We did have the internet to find things.
Okay.
I do remember going online trying to find stuff that you can find in the game and trying to find what in the world things do, because this was a game, Mega Man 8 and Mega Man and Base introduced the idea of going to a shop. Oh no, it came out in Mega Man 7 first, where you can go to a shop and buy equipment.
Okay.
Like upgrades.
Yeah.
And which is all fine and good if you can read it.
Yeah.
But when you can't read it,
You're just like...
We're sort of like, I'm not sure what this does, but it looks pretty.
Yeah, it's like, I want that. That looks nice.
So,
Sir, it will give you an artificial insemination and possibly take off your head. I'm sorry, what was that?
So it made playing the game a little challenging because that one actually had a very good storyline to it that progressed in gameplay where you didn't have cutscenes to rely on.
That's good.
Where you actually had different characters talking to you.
Yeah.
And later on, when I did come out on Game Boy, I bought it and have played it since. So I actually now know what they're saying.
Which is good. But yet somehow you didn't get to learn Japanese through all that.
No. But anyway, so Mega Man 8 came out in 97, and then there was a long, long stretch of time before anything else came. To the point where we were beginning to think that nothing else ever would.
Yeah.
Because Mega Man X had become the dominant one.
Right.
Then, in 2008...
Wow, that's a long time. That's a good 10 years.
I think 12 years, actually.
Holy crap.
So it's a decade, at
Yeah.
least. They announced, and later released, Mega Man 9. And they went retro. They pretty much decided, okay, we're going to go back to basics. We're going to go back to what we loved about the Mega Man series, the thing that we liked the most.
Yeah.
So they put it on the virtual consoles,
Okay.
which is you can buy them online through the Wii, through the PlayStation, whatever they're called,
Yeah, online.
and through the Xbox Live.
Okay.
So now Mega Man is on all three consoles. And they went back to 8-bit graphics. An 8-bit style, 8-bit sound.
Interesting.
And the thing is, it rocks. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It took away some of the things that made the other Mega Man games easier.
Okay.
Like some people complained, like the hardcore fans complained, oh, the Mega Buster, the charge-up shot makes the game too easy. Oh, the sliding makes the game too easy. So like, all right, we'll take it away then.
Yeah.
No more sliding, no more charge shot.
But now they're probably complaining, oh, why don't we have the sliding? Why don't we have the charge shot?
Well, here's also the nice thing. As a downloadable character, you can, for the first time in this particular game series, play as Proto Man.
Oh, cool.
And he has the charge-up shot and the slide.
Okay.
The trade-off is he takes more damage.
So they balanced it.
So they
that
balanced it out.
You can have your cake and eat it too.
Yes. Also, to point out, it's not the very first time you can play as Proto Man at all, but it is the first time for this type of game.
Okay.
Because they did release a fighting game series.
Okay.
I think there's only made 2 of them. I forget the names, but it's pretty much like you skip all the platforming and all that junk and just go right to the boss.
Okay.
And you can play with a friend. It's a 2-player game, and it's you and Proto Man or you and Base fight against a boss, and you can gain their power, and you progress through. It's fun. Those are released. They were arcade games, and they did eventually release them on the home consoles with as a bonus feature to the Mega Man collection, which is they pretty much put Mega Man 1 through 8 on one disc and put it on PlayStation and Xbox.
Cool. Just as a fighting game?
The 2 fighting games were, but they put all the games, Mega Man 1 through 8.
Oh, like a compilation.
Yes.
Nice.
They did the same thing for Mega Man X as well.
Cool.
And then a couple years later, they made Mega Man 10, also in 8-bit style, and really fun games.
So they've never thought about doing it into 3D graphics and updating it, and keeping the same gameplay and everything, but changing the look.
They did make a 3D game, but it was its own series,
Okay.
and it had a very different style of gameplay.
Mm.
Now, someone, as a fan community, did make a sort of a 3D-ish shooting game kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't recall the name, but he made it so it was sort of like Unreal Tournament,
Okay.
where you play it as a character and you can just shoot at other people.
Yeah.
And you can play as Mega Man. You can shoot at the Robot Masters who are
Right.
inhabiting the world. You can gain their power. But they've never done that officially.
Okay.
Now, Mega Man Legends is a game I've never actually played through, and they are releasing a third one, I think next year.
Okay.
And that's another game series that had a lot of fans, but then a long, long, long stretch of time, even longer, I think, than the official games,
Okay.
classic series that they have between the two. And they released Mega Man Legends on Nintendo 64. So that's I think the only Mega Man that went 64-bit. Although that had better voice acting.
I would hope so.
So we're going to go to Mega Man X. And we're going to have there's going to be a very key difference here. Because one, it's Mega Man of the future. But it follows the same sort of path as Mega Man in terms of it's the same gameplay mode for a while.
Right.
You do eventually kind of go into 3D with X series. I think in Mega Man X 6? Okay. No, 7. 7 or 8.
Okay.
Some of the later games I don't remember as well. And he's still created by Dr. Light. However, this is where we get into a difference between a robot and a term I misused a minute ago, but now can use correctly, Reploid.
Okay.
A Reploid is a robot that can think for itself.
Okay.
And does not follow the rules of robotics because it has its own mind.
Right.
Where it is no longer programmable.
Right.
Because with a robot, you can reprogram it.
Right.
So if, for example, if Dr. Wily ever got a hold of Mega Man, he could, in theory, reprogram him to be evil.
Right. Has that ever happened?
I think in the Game Boy games.
Okay.
But it was like a Mega Man of the future, some weird thing. I don't remember. I never played the Mega Man on Game Boy, so I can't officially...
You can't...
I can't comment on that one without sounding like an idiot. Which I may be already, because I'm thinking, I love Mega Man. But this game stunk. Because it had girly voice acting, which I'm doing now.
Well, yeah. What are you going to do?
And so what he did when he was designing X, as he named him, so he's no longer just going to be called Mega Man, he's pretty much going to be called X.
Yeah.
Dr. Light pretty much made him at the end of his lifetime.
Okay.
And knew he wasn't going to live long enough to fully test the idea of a Reploid.
Right.
So he buried him and put him in a capsule to run the test for him long after he died.
Okay.
He's then later found by Dr. Kane, who ends up passing away after Mega Man X3. And he's designs other Reploids after him.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you've got X, he's got his own personality, he's almost like a human.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's robotic.
Right. So
I can help design other Reploids and replicate this. Good theory. However, they went Maverick, as they call them, where...
Yeah, they kind of go on their own thing. They might start shooting people.
Which is what they do.
Yeah.
Some actually decide to go erratic, crazy, and cause havoc.
Yeah.
And X, who was a peaceful person, decided, I'm going to fight this.
Yeah.
Now here's where the game gets progression, where unlike other games, for Mega Man, you can actually get upgrades in-game. Where you can find capsules where Dr. Light, in holographic form, don't ask me how he knows, because in even later games he'll even have conversations with X, you're like, you're dead! How are you talking?
Yeah.
But he'll give you armor upgrades, and also enhance your abilities.
That's pretty cool. And this was... How is the graphics done in this game?
Well, this started off in the Super Nintendo, so right away you had better graphics.
Okay.
And then it went to PlayStation, which even got better graphics, and has since progressed graphic-wise since.
Okay, so we're no longer in the 8-bit.
No, and this is actually the one where they kind of had where you can go 3D a bit.
Okay.
And have people shooting at you while you're trying to run past them and shoot back.
Cool.
So they do actually attempt it with this series.
Yeah. I mean, because something that's so iconic as having the platform style, it is difficult to translate that into a 3D environment. It's not to say it's undoable, it's just difficult. So I know you want to be careful when you attempt something like that.
Plus, there's always the risk of going too far from what you like. You know?
Oh, yeah. Especially, especially since you said they went retro when they released, was it 9 in 2008, and they did platform style. It's like that's one of the things people like. So you want to keep what people like.
Right. And with Mega Man X, they also had, they've only released one of them, they had a RPG in this style.
Okay.
So it was also completely different, and they did not do platforming, and that was mostly 3D.
Did you play that one?
I did.
And what did you think of it?
It was different. It was fun.
Okay.
But it was a different experience.
You still had the same enjoyment value.
I did. It was a different kind of thing, you know? I knew going in it wasn't going to be platforming.
Okay.
And it was
so you had already kind of made your peace with that.
Yeah, and it was going to be RPG pace, which means it was going to be more like a puzzle game as well as action, because you're going to be doing plenty of shooting. Mm-hmm. But they also introduced what you don't like, which is turn-based fighting.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pay that one.
Matt hates that.
I'm sorry. For those of you that really enjoy turn-based fighting, I primarily came with the fact that, what was it, Knights of the Old Republic. One of my friends played it, and he's like, oh, it's really great. You should come over and play it. So I'm like, all right. So I went over and tried it. I'm like, Why can't I swing my lightsaber? He's like, well, you got to wait for a fight. I'm like, well, this sucks. If I'm playing as a Jedi, I should be able to hack at anything I want with my lightsaber whenever I want. I shouldn't have to wait to be in a fight.
You're not the only one who thinks this, so don't think you're a minority.
And especially with, I did play Final Fantasy, I think, 3 or 4. We actually have that for the NES. And it was okay the first 2 times, but when every time you get in a fight, you have to do turn-based fighting, it's just frustrating. I much prefer real-time fighting. That's why I play games like Warcraft and StarCraft and stuff like that, because you're in the fight. It happens right there. There's no playing turns and all this. I'm okay with, chess is a turn-based fighting game, but that's the game.
Yeah.
It's not a game within a game within a game. That's part of the reason I don't like turn-based fighting.
You're not in the minority, and they do have RPGs that go beyond that. They don't have turn-based fighting, where they keep the idea of the more you fight, the more you use a certain thing, the more you use
because
this,
if you played a game like, say, World of Warcraft, and you're playing as a thief, I should be able to sneak up on somebody, take them down, and then steal their money and run away. There should not be this turn-based fighting thing. That's just one example of how you could play into the RPG factor without having turn-based fighting.
Oh yeah, I mean, even on the Super Nintendo, they had a game called Secret of Mana, where it was an RPG where you had equipment, items, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there was no turn-based fighting. You just ran around and you could, anytime you wanted to, you could hack at something. If there's an enemy, you just walk up to it and slash it with your sword.
Sounds good.
And it was also a 2-player game because you had free roaming. Okay. And if you had if you had one of those ports that you can plug in a third controller, because there were 3 characters, you can actually have a 3-player game.
Nice.
I never had that port, unfortunately.
Well, we didn't have a Super Nintendo until early 2000s.
It was called Mega Man X Command Mission, just so I'm covering my bases here.
Yeah, we're still talking about Mega Man at some point.
I know. A character that was introduced in the first game for Mega Man X, but then had a more progressive story, was a character named Zero. And
so we're completely throwing away musical themes now.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, I should point out, it helps with the idea of it's a whole new game, whole new series, whole new theme.
Yeah.
With the classic Mega Man series, with the exception of one, because they only had one woman.
Okay, yeah.
Splash Woman in Mega Man 9. And she was like a mermaid.
Okay.
She's the only female robot master. She threw a trident at you.
Okay.
And hit you with fish.
Oh, that's messed up.
With the exception of that, all the robots...
I throw my smelly fish at you!
All the robots had the word man at the end of it.
Right.
Like Cut Man.
Right.
Heat Man.
Right.
Snake Man.
Yeah.
With the X series, that went away.
Okay.
And they had different names. And they used animals mostly.
Okay.
For example, they had Armored Armadillo. That was in the first game.
Purple Penguin?
No.
Okay.
They had Morph Moth.
So definitely the alliteration factor.
Yes, and plus they were basing it on animals.
Right.
And other various things. So they had a more different kind of feel, different look as well. Because everything was also more futuristic looking.
Okay.
And more armored and high-tech looking. Because it is more in the future.
Right.
Whereas with Mega Man, the look of it was still definitely high-tech. Like they have robots and automated things. But there was still a more homely feel to it. This felt maybe a little more far out.
Okay.
So anyway, Zero's main form of attack was a beam saber. Can't call it lightsaber.
Because that would be copyright.
That would be copyright. It's a beam saber.
Okay.
Works almost the exact same way, though.
But it's a beam saber.
It's a beam saber, except it looks more like it's electricity than it is plasma.
Okay.
And you come to find out during the games that he was created by Dr. Wily.
Dum dum dum!
However, Zero's still a good guy.
Dum dum dum.
They do have the ongoing story of that they had in Mega Man X4, where he was having reoccurring dreams of his maker saying, "Take him down, finish him.
Yeah.
You are my creation. Do what I tell you." But he resists. He does not want to become Maverick. He does not want to go.
Now here's an interesting thing: is if he's having dreams, is that a sign that he's becoming more human?
Well, that's always the thing with Reploids, is they are, with the exception of being a non-organic being, they are as close to human as possible. They can think for themselves. They can make their own choices.
Right.
They can feel emotion, which is things that robots can't do.
Right. So then it does start to blur the lines between human and robot.
It does, but and because they're robotic, they can have extended lifespans.
Yeah.
Where they can be remade, they can be rebuilt. Whereas with humans, we don't have that luxury.
Not most of us, anyway.
Not most of us, anyway. Now, the main villain for Mega Man X is a character known as Sigma.
Okay.
He's also a Reploid, except he does not want to live in a world where Reploids take orders from humans.
Right.
He wants to rebel against the creators.
Okay.
And he does not want to take orders. He wants to eliminate them. He's like, forget them. They are the worst. They are the thing killing this Earth.
Sounds very similar to Magneto.
Kind of, except, he's robotic.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that as far as...
Which makes him tough to kill.
Yeah.
Because unlike Wily, where they never kill him, they try to kill Sigma all the time.
Yeah, because he's a robot.
But the problem is, when you get into things like, well, they're very, very much aware that there's internet, where you can go into cyberspace.
Uh-huh.
He does that on occasion where you destroy his body, but he transfers all his thoughts and things out before you can totally kill him.
So really, they just need to take him, say, in the backwoods of Alabama and shoot him there, because there's nothing electronic there.
I think by this point there probably is.
Maybe. There's somewhere on this earth where there's no electrical anything for like a good 100-mile radius.
I don't know, because, even in this world, they've colonized the desert.
Yeah,
so it's a tough thing. Plus, when you're robotic, stuff like that doesn't matter as much.
It's true.
Where you can have a colony without food and water.
True.
As long as you bring supplies to prepare yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
And one of the things they comment on for Sigma is, because he's been transferring himself out of bodies a lot, is that his true form, his essence seems to become what they call either a Maverick virus or the Sigma virus. But because they are robotic still, they can be affected by such things.
Right.
And that's what keeps him going. And that's what keeps him affecting other characters and other Reploids. Because some get turned into Mavericks against their will.
Yeah.
Where they don't actually want to be doing this, but they have no control over themselves anymore. Again, the drawback of them. Kind of, but it's also like that's the way like a computer virus would work.
Oh yeah.
Where like the computer mainframe might be like, I don't want to hit Control-Delete. Why am I deleting myself?
Yeah.
But I have no control. My arms are doing it for me.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Which makes the whole idea, because they are still robotic, work,
Right.
And the game has progressed to where he's part of, or X and Zero are part of the Maverick Hunters, where they go out and try to eliminate all these things. And they've added new characters and added new plot twists. And they've always kept the gameplay kind of fresh by adding new elements to it all the time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why the classic series had such a long hiatus, is because the X series took a dominant force.
Okay.
And they also spun that off because Zero was such a popular character to the Mega Man Zero, which kind of featured a different looking Zero, where it's sort of like even more into the future, but kind of like its own side trek, side spin-off kind of thing.
Okay.
And then ZX, which I know nothing about. They also had another game series called Battle Network, which I only played once, and that was in a completely different setting, no relation to any of these Mega Mans.
Okay.
Where it was kind of, I don't want to say it's exactly like Pokemon, because it's not quite.
Okay.
But you play as a human, and Mega Man is what they call a net navigator.
Okay.
Where he's sort of like your online
tour guide.
Kinda.
Okay.
And I mean, the setting of that game is like everything is run by computers, and everyone has like a handheld thing where you can plug into networks.
Okay.
And your net navies, as they're called, help you navigate to it.
Yeah.
And get the information you want.
It's called Google.
Yes. If they just could do that, it wouldn't work. And you fight on like the digital plane, where you fight viruses and other net navies.
That sounds kind of boring.
And it also doesn't have platforming. And it kind of works. It's not turn-based style, but there is an element to it, where you find and collect weapons.
I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, you're already playing a game, and the game is it's a game within a game.
It is. I mean, the best way I can describe it, because you can you play as a kid who has this like thing that like the computer thing that has Mega Man in it.
Right.
But you could walk up to another kid who has another computer thing and challenge him and challenge his guy.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of like Pokemon, where it's like battling your guys. And to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of this one.
Yeah. I was gonna say this one doesn't sound as intriguing as the others. It doesn't sound like there's any storyline to it. It doesn't sound like you're playing as Mega Man. You're playing as a kid who can access Mega Man. in electronic device. It's like, really?
Well, there is
if they made it real, now if they had taken it a similar way that Pokemon is now, my brother actually has this little Pokeball thing, and you can walk up to somebody else that has one, link it up right then and there, and battle against each other. If they did that with this at this time, that would have been a very novel approach. Say, okay, we're going to make little handheld things where you can have, these different characters from Mega Man and battle against each other. That would have worked. But playing a console game where you're as a little kid who has this little thing where he can walk up to the people and challenge, that sounds boring.
And I mean, it was also a Game Boy series.
Yeah.
Just so we know which console we're talking about.
Still.
But I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, they did have a storyline to it where you had to go and help things because they were terrorists trying to mess with computer systems.
Yeah.
Like mess with the waterworks and whatever. But to me, it didn't have the same feel. It was just, to me, it didn't feel like Mega Man.
Yeah.
It was only Mega Man in name.
Yeah.
And plus the fact that, like, when you actually do get to fight and play as Mega Man, like, when you're actually fighting, you can't actually go beyond a certain point.
Right.
Where, like, the way it's set up is you have, like, an enemy here, you're here, and you have, like, a couple squares you can move on, they have squares you can move on.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, so, like, I played it through, beat the game, but decided never to play the rest of the series.
Sounds like a good idea.
One was enough, and I played it, and it was okay, but not my thing.
Yeah.
Give me platforming and shooting any day.
Yeah. I've got a robot with a cannon for an arm. I want to shoot stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to worry about, will I get a bomb in this turn so I can throw it? Because there was turns where if you use all your stuff, it cycled through, and not my thing, to be honest with you.
It doesn't sound like it.
So, any questions before we move on?
Why is there not a Mega Man movie?
Well, here's the thing. I think it would work as a cartoon movie.
You don't think it would work as a live-action movie?
No.
Why not?
Because there would be so many things that I think, just as a fan, I can't even consider myself a hardcore fan, because there are people who are way more into it than I am.
Okay.
But just as a fan who's been following the series for many years, someone who really loves the series, there's so much room for error when you convert it to live action.
Okay. Give me 2 examples of things that you think would get messed up if they try to convert it to live action.
Well, the idea of you thought it was a guy in a suit.
Okay.
If he's not a robot, I'm not buying it.
Okay.
That has always been the core aspect.
Now, I will agree with you there, but that's not that hard to convert.
No, but it's also...
Maybe, so with get an actor to portray Mega Man so that you can have somebody physically running around in a suit, but it's pegged as a robot. You could do that. They did it with RoboCop, so I know it's done. I'm just saying I know it can be done. And that was many years ago where they didn't have the technology we have today.
I suppose. I just think... Well, plus there's always the idea of, like...
Because it sounds like there's a fairly good amount of different story elements that you could pull together. The idea of Mega Man being built by Dr. Light. Mm-hmm. Proto Man as his older brother who, kind of helps him along the way, but then later on he finds out he's his brother. The sister... Rush. That was Rush, right?
No, Rush is the dog.
Oh, Rush is the dog. Well, have the dog in there, too. Make it a family affair.
Roll's the sister.
Roll's the sister. Now, what was her American name?
Roll.
It was still Roll.
Yeah, they kept all that.
So, okay.
Really, the only thing that changed was...
So, really, if you want to do it justice, you get rid of the word Mega Man and call him Rock.
Well, that'd still be his name, because, like, what they called him when he's as Mega Man would be Rock Man.
Okay.
Because even when he's not in, like, Mega Man form... Like if he's as the servant bot or just the guy who's kind of almost like Dr. Light's son, the way he's sometimes portrayed, he is still called Rock. I just think there's too much room for them not doing it full justice. Because like the thing about Mega Man is like I don't want them to limit the idea of what he can do. Plus there's a lot of things that would be tough to do live action still without making it totally CG.
True.
And the thing is like if they're gonna make all the effects and all the things that he can do, like changing his hand, because it can spin and go into his arm and become a cannon.
Right.
If that's going to be CG anyway, just go full CG.
Okay. So if they did it big budget CG.
If they did big budget CG, I think it could work because that way they don't have any limitations.
Right.
They can do like all the stunts Mega Man can do, or they could possibly do.
Or they could. I mean, you could always go and do it very similar to the way Sky Captain was done, where very very limited live action, but still there for the human characters. But for everybody else, it's CG. For everything else.
Yeah.
That's one way to go. I mean,
Like
I see what you're
mean,
saying.
I think as a cartoon, like I said, as a cartoon / CD, I think it would be more doable. It would be easier to keep it to what people would like.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not asking them to make recreations of the place where you have to jump over pits and do silly things like
But
that.
if they did little bits like that here and there, just as a nod to it, I think.
Yeah, like if he's like chasing down someone on a rooftop and he's got to jump over things, but as he's doing it, robots are flying up from the thing in the middle trying to knock him down.
Yeah.
That's doable, but like, you know, I don't expect them to recreate levels bit by bit.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, and not only that, but that would take you out of the movie. You know, you don't want to just sit there and watch somebody play a video game.
Right.
You want to watch a movie. You want to watch a story. I was just curious because, I mean, it sounds like there's a big following to this game series. I'm surprised they haven't tried to do a movie with it. I've certainly not heard anything about a development of a Mega Man movie.
A lot of development on a lot of video game movies, to be honest. I think with some of the things that we'll eventually talk about, like the Mario Brothers movie, the Final Fantasy movie,
Yeah.
things that didn't go over too well, like in Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, things that they've tried in the past.
Well, the first Mortal Kombat, we talked about this before. The first Mortal Kombat was good for what it was. Especially for what the game was. It was a solid movie in the sense if you could watch it, there wasn't at a point where you felt like, wow, this is just a piece of crap. You felt like, okay, well, that's kind of corny, but it's funny, or whatever. It worked.
It's definitely a decent watchable movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the second one that makes you go, oh, come on.
Yeah, I just prefer to think of the second one as non-existing.
So I think with the track record Hollywood has had with video game movies, I think they wouldn't want to start with Mega Man.
No, sure.
There are others that are more...
I think they're actually, from what I've heard, Nintendo actually wants them to make a Mario Brothers movie, but a good Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah. Mario would also be one I would be like, look, I don't know if live action is the way to go with this.
I don't know. It depends on how it would be done.
I guess. I mean, there's other games that are more video game. There's other games that are more movie ready.
Yeah, like Tomb Raider.
Like Tomb Raider was one definitely, but I would also
Prince of Persia worked too.
Yes, I would say that something like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah,
because that's almost a movie in itself. Just it's a video game.
Yeah,
is definitely ready for a movie.
Yeah,
and also Metroid is easy to do. It's a bounty hunter in space.
Right,
and she's a chick.
Because there's not enough bounty hunters in space.
But who are female?
Well, it's true.
But there aren't enough bounty hunters in space. At least not with movies based around just them.
Sure.
Because all like Boba Fett, he doesn't have his own movie.
True. That'd be cool if he did, though.
It would be. George.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. Know what I mean?
But it's nice that you mention that there is a following to Mega Man because there is, in fact, a very large fan community.
Yeah.
That do quite a bit of fan work in terms of they've made tribute, parody games and movies alike. They have made... There is online, like on YouTube, a trailer, a fake trailer for a live-action Mega Man game movie, which is kind of eh.
That's kind of... But it's okay. Check that out.
It's okay. There's a lot of flash animation that's really good. Some of it, really well made. Like one that I've seen recently that's been around a while was Mega Man versus Quick Man.
Okay.
And they have a fight. And it's really well done. There's also quite a bit of very funny things Mega Man has done. There's also a community where people take the idea of the Robot Masters and run with it.
Okay.
In terms of...
they don't start a rock band, do they?
No, but there is a rock band.
There's a Mega Man rock band?
They're called the Proto Men. And what they do, and I would actually like to see them one day, what they do is they go out in full costume.
Nice.
And all of their songs are based on the storylines for Mega Man.
Awesome.
And Proto Man.
That would be... I would go with you on that one. I think that'd be kind of fun.
And they're a rock and roll band.
Cool.
And they do really good shows because they go in full costume. And I think there's also effects and fights on stage.
Nice.
So they go all out.
That's pretty cool.
So they are a Mega Man tribute band.
Nice.
What I'm talking about for the Robot Masters is I'm going to take the one that's been around the longest.
Yeah.
Which is based on Mega Man 3. And they're called the Mechanical Maniacs.
All right.
And what they do is it's a group of people who portray the character. Mm-hmm. Well, they'll take on the role. And they'll write stuff for it, or they'll do other things for it. and what they call them epilogues.
Okay.
Because it's stuff that takes place after the game.
Right.
And they build communities based on that. And believe it or not, I'm actually a part of one of them.
Oh, I did not know this.
Because there's so much of them, one for each game, I'm actually in the Mega Man X2 team.
Okay.
And I portray Wheel Gator. And I write for it.
Wheel Gator.
Yes. He's a gator that shoots
So that's your alias, huh?
spin wheels. Sometimes.
Wheel Gator.
Not really, because because it's like, to make it more unique, they just mostly give you the name of what you post as, and I'm still...
Actually, I'm just thinking of that Ron White joke where he's talking about getting pulled over by the cops. Do you have any aliases? And he's like, they call me Tater Salad. It's like, they call you Wheel Gator.
They call me Wheel Gator, and Outlaw 88, and Mankind, and various other things.
Wow.
Just like your Kotal.
That's my real name.
That's your...
Matthew's just my first name.
Given to you by the man. And so I've been with them for a while.
Okay.
I've been writing, and that's kind of kept me sharp in terms of my creativity and writing.
Yeah. Well, I knew you wrote for some stuff. I didn't know.
And I'm going to give
I
out
did not know that your Mega Man fandom was that deep.
Kind of goes only that, though, because that's the only one I'm a part of. Because I have been asked to be on more of them.
Well, still, you're writing for that, and that's more than I can say for my Batman fandom.
What about your Star Wars fandom?
Well, that's true. We'll get to that on a whole other podcast. So.
And to be honest and fair, I have been asked by other people in the community to do more stuff, but I was like, I'm good with one. And that's kind of shows how deep I am into it. It's like I've mentioned the Mechanical Maniacs.
Yeah.
And I know there's more, but I couldn't name them because I don't follow it that closely. Yeah. So that's why I can't say I'm a hardcore fan because I don't.
But even still,
go full out.
I mean, that's good that you've got something like that going.
And it has been fun. I have been able to be creative, and sometimes really funny, and sometimes not so funny, but still works.
But as long as it gives you something to practice your skills with, but also incorporates into the fan community.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give out that website real quick, the one I'm a part of, and you can find more on that when you Google Mega Man teams and Mega Man community.
Or you can use your Mega Man navies.
Or you could do that. But this is at www.ciattackers.com. And they are called the Code Island Attackers, if you want to Google it. That's Code Island Attackers. Because, part of that game is based on an island. So, that's why. Okay. I guess. The guy who runs it came up with the name. I just joined.
As long as it makes someone kind of
someone else, person who posts is Rebel, which I'm sure is getting a kick out of the fact that I'm mentioning you. He came up with the name and concept. I just kind of joined up.
And said, hey, this looks cool, I'll join.
And he runs the site and does all the postings, so I just write it and he does all the hard work.
Hey, that's a good deal right there.
Yeah, so pat on the back for him for all the hard work.
Yay!
You can easily find the stuff I've written on that.
Well, the only question I have was, you said that they're releasing a Mega Man 10 soon?
No, they've already done that.
Oh, they've already done it. You said they're in the works of releasing another one?
They're releasing another Mega Man Legends.
Okay.
That one was fully 3D to begin with.
Okay.
Except I never played those. Not out of dislike. It's just I didn't have a 64 until long after it was done and over with.
Yeah.
Like I think GameCube was still going strong, but they were developing the Wii by the time I had the GameCube. By the time I bought a 64.
Okay.
And I've only got a handful of games, so it's not like I didn't want to play it. It's just never got around to it.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Is there any talks of doing any kind of crossover with the different series?
Well, I mean, it's always difficult to do so because for the two Mega Mans that are the most dominant, like Mega Man and Mega Man X, Mega Man X takes place after Mega Man. Okay. And they've never actually revealed what happens. They've kind of kept that on purpose very quiet. Like you don't.
So there is room where they could go in and do something with that.
There's always room. There's always room to fill in the gap, but you don't know because eventually, because in the X series there is no Mega Man, there is no Proto Man, there is no Roll, there's no Rush, there's no Bass. None of them are around. So it's
there's no Bass. It's only Soprano.
Right. So so you can always make your assumption of what happened.
Yeah.
Like did they just retire? Did they die?
Mega Man goes to the senior center.
Well, do they just stop?
Dare you eat my scone?
Do they just stop functioning, that sort of thing? Because we know for a fact, because they're human, Dr. Light and Dr. Wily pass on.
True.
But you never get any of the gaps filled.
Yeah.
So you never really know what's going to happen there. Although in the cartoon series, they did have Mega Man and Mega Man X meet.
Oh, cool.
Because Mega Man X went back in time.
Okay, so there was some kind of idea with that.
Yes, there was an idea with it. And it was actually a pretty cool episode.
I imagine it would be. It just reminded me, I saw a clip on YouTube from, I guess it was Justice League Unlimited, or it might have been Batman Beyond, but it's like where Green Lantern, Static Shock, and Batman go into the future. And you have Batman meet old Bruce Wayne. And it's funny because you have Terry going, Batman, Bruce Wayne, Batman. Or have you guys met? And they both look at him and go, shut up.
Like at the same time?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was awesome.
So, as far as that, I don't know per se if there's any more Mega Man games in the works just yet. Okay. I do know that one of the creators who had been with Capcom for all these years has just left.
Okay.
So I don't know if they'll continue without him. I mean, I'm sure they can because Capcom owns Mega Man. He doesn't own Mega Man. And they have released Mega Man in other forms more recently. Like, there had been I'm going to pronounce it wrong, I'm sure, manga? I believe that's how they pronounce it?
Either manga or manga.
One of those two, the Japanese comic books.
That you have to read from back to front in a weird way. I don't know how. That's why I could never read them.
That had been in Japan only for a long, long time, but now they've recently started coming over here. So Mega Man is still being imported over here. And they had Mega Man in comic books before that, although it was, I think the one I had was short run.
Yeah. The
character is pretty much part of their franchise. He's never going to...
Well, it's definitely their pop culture icon, I think.
It's definitely one of them. Capcom...
I mean, because he's got games, he's got a TV show, he's been in comics, there's a musical, there's a rock band. I mean, it's there.
Right. And, I mean, I think in Japan only they've released soundtracks for the games.
Cool.
So...
Very nice.
Quite a bit of stuff. But like I said, Capcom, or attempting to say, Capcom does have its other franchises going, like they've got Resident Evil going.
Right.
And
another game that was turned into a successful movie.
Yes.
Whether or not you liked it is not the point. It was financially successful.
Yes, it was. So, and they have other stuff that they do. I do know for a fact that Zero will be appearing in Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Okay.
I don't know if Mega Man's in it. I know they've got some of the more of the roster on there yet.
Okay.
But I haven't checked. So it's not like he's ever going to go away. He's definitely part of their franchise. He's definitely one of their main guys that they're always going to go to for stuff. But we just never know when.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they'll come out with something new that continues to build upon what's good, what people like about it, while introducing new and fresh ideas.
Right. And for the longest time, people used to think that Mega Man X stood for Mega Man 10 because it was an X.
Yeah.
So they thought it was Roman numeral.
Mm-hmm.
So now that they've actually gone to Mega Man 10, they can finally say, look, they're different.
Yeah.
Completely different. They're related but different.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting if they ever go to Mega Man 11.
Yeah.
It's also been a while since they've released a new X game, so I don't know.
Or they could just retitle it Mega Man.
He's the Mega Man. Fighting for your spam. Speaking of which, before we sign off, I have to mention this. The intro music for the Mega Man cartoon was pretty good.
Okay.
But the main lyric was da-da-da-da, super fighting robot, da-da-da-da, Mega Man. And they repeated that. And two different people thought they were saying two different things.
Okay.
And I thought it was very funny when I combined it.
Okay.
For example, our mutual friend Steven used to think that it was Super Fighting Robot in Japan.
Okay.
Which technically he's right.
Yes.
But my mom, however, had an even funnier idea of what in the world they were saying.
Okay.
Because I was watching it, and one day she came over to me and was like, are they saying Super Fighting Robot pays the rent? So yes, Mom, he's a super fighting robot who pays the rent in Japan. Because he's fighting to save the world.
Funnier story, there was a short movie I saw years ago online called A Ninja Pays Half My Rent.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I saw that.
It was pretty funny.
But yes, we will eventually talk about Mario because that's definitely a game series that I love, and Matt actually has played.
Yeah. Not all of them, but I've played, the first one.
We can actually have a less of a one-sided conversation. But I had to talk about Mega Man first because...
that one's very dear to you.
Like Batman is to Matt, Mega Man, I would say, is very near and dear to my heart in terms of, I don't care what you guys say, I will always like it. I will always be a defender of Mega Man. Even the worst Mega Man game, I'll be like, well, there was something good for it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So that's that. Come back next time and we'll talk about some more fun stuff. I don't know what yet because, like I said, we never think that far in advance. Oh, and by the way, by the time of the series, it'll be a new year. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay, we made it to 2011.
We did! One more year to go before the end of the world. Yay!
They say the same thing about snowing tomorrow. They said the same thing about Y2K.
Yeah.
The content of the Freakacast is copyright to Andrew Felson and Matthew Puetz. Freakazoid, Batman, Mega Man, and all other characters belong to their respective owners. A full list of music used will be provided on the website. This podcast is for entertainment use only. Copyright 2010. The Robot Overlords approve this podcast.
Freaks out.